A boy named Noor had the weakest skill of parry, but he trained for 14 years, and now he has become the strongest man in the kingdom with his weakest skill, killing anyone in a single hit. Noor has always been a hard worker. Even as a kid, he would do everything he could to help out his mom since she was really sick at the time. After handing her a cup of water, Noor needs to go feed the goats for the day, so he's going to take them up to the hills. But before he goes, his mom reminds him that he shouldn't go past the rocks that have been laid out, and Noor promises to be careful. He says he will also get some wild rabbits, and that's for dinner, and his mom is happy to have such a good kid, but she knows she isn't going to last much longer, so she calls Noor back to her. And while wiping the dirt from his face, she apologizes for not being able to do anything for him as his mother, but she asks Noor to please live life the way he wants to. After she's gone that night, Noor was making dinner, but as he goes to give his mom some soup to his horror finds that she has passed on. Noor is deeply saddened by this, but after burying her he decides to fulfill his mother's final wish and live his life for her sake. Noor doesn't really have any big ambitions, but he works hard to keep up his daily routine. Although there's gotten a lot more lonely in the house late at night, Noor is searching the top of his shelf when he accidentally falls over and grabs an old book. This is the same one his father used to read to him back when he was alive, about an adventurer and his many outstanding adventures across the lands, dragons, slaying, learning magic, and even dispelling a curse. Remembering these stories gives Noor a new goal to achieve. So for the next day, Noor dumps a lot of hay for the animals to eat while he's gone, and then he visits his parents' graves to tell them that he has found an ambition to strive towards, so he is going to do everything he can to become one. He says his final goodbye to his parents' graves and his childhood home before turning to embark on his adventure and crossing the barrier around his home. For the first time after leaving his home, he spends the night out in the woods, and by the next day, he has finally made it to the big city. He walks up to the city gates to ask about the location of the Adventurers Guild, and the guards are nice enough to point him in the right direction. Moore walks through the gates and is amazed by the sight he sees before him. This is more people than he has ever seen in his entire life, and they are all living in the same place. While walking through the streets, Moore bumps into an adventurer, and his eyes instantly light up even more as he remembers why he came here to begin with. Noor eventually arrives at the Adventurers Guild, and he is ready to make his dream come true. But the only thing standing in his way is the buff receptionist. He tells him that he is too young to become an adventurer and should just head home for his parents. Get worried. However, seeing as both of Noor's parents are 6 feet under, becoming an adventurer is the only thing Noor can aspire to do. The receptionist now understands Noor's situation a bit better, so he goes up to him and says, Noor can become an adventurer. Most new adventurers aren't as young as him, but if he really wants to do it, he's not going to stop him. However, the receptionist has one condition. Noor must first go to a training school so that he can acquire some useful skills. It doesn't matter if it's swordsmanship, magic, or archery, Noor. It just needs to learn useful skill. Noor is happy that he is being given a chance, so he immediately heads over to the training school to begin learning. As he arrives at the gate, he decides that he will learn swordsmanship, since the story from his adventurer book said the adventurer used a sword to slay a dragon in a single swing. Noor begins his training arc. As he is practicing, a random background character unlocks his hidden potential. Noor sees this and is just motivated to work even harder, but by the time a few months have passed, all the other background characters have unlocked their abilities, and Noor is the only one who can't get anything special to happen. Eventually, the instructor tells Noor that he should stop, but Noor pleads with him for a little more time to practice. However, the instructor tells him that no amount of time is going to get him a sword skill. It's been months of training, and while it's unfortunate, if Noor hasn't gotten a skill by now, then he will likely never get one. So, he should stop wasting his time. The only thing he has managed to learn this entire time is how to parry attacks, so the instructor advises Noor to choose a different profession since his talent may lie elsewhere. Noor is disappointed that he can't become a swordsman, but he takes his instructor's advice. He goes to a different training school to learn how to become a warrior, but after several months of grueling training, All Noor has been able to accomplish is achieving a slightly better physique than before. The instructor can't let him continue training any further in this profession. Otherwise, it could become dangerous to his health. Noor still doesn't give up and tries becoming a hunter instead, but even that doesn't work as he destroys all the bows he tries to handle. Noor keeps trying various different professions, but no matter what he tries, he only learns the weakest skills. Ultimately, he is faced with the reality that he has no talents whatsoever. He returns to the Adventurers Guild to tell the receptionist what happened, and the fact that Noor spent 3 months at every training school in the city but didn't manage to learn a single profession. This sounds impossible to the receptionist. However, while he feels bad for Noor, he can't let him become an adventurer when he doesn't have the skills necessary to survive. Noor returns home, having failed to achieve what he set out to do, but even though he knows he has no talent, he remains determined. He carves a practice sword out of wood so that he can begin his new training routine. And while he didn't manage to learn anything in the professions, he did learn a sword skill at the beginning, so he's going to keep training that skill in hopes that he may eventually unlock a new one. He vows to train every morning, afternoon, and night. But even after a full year of training, Noor still hasn't managed to acquire a new skill. However, he's now able to parry 10 attacks at a time, so he knows he's at least improving a little bit. 3 years later, Noor's training has improved his parry skill to the point where he can now parry over 100 swords at once. But he still hasn't gotten any new skills, so he continues training day and night until his sword ends up shattering in his hands. After 10 more years of this training routine, Noor's parry skill has developed to the point that he is now capable of the Mikiri parry, and can parry an entire forest with one arm. But even with his godly parry skills, he still hasn't been able to acquire any new skills. At this point, Noor realizes that no amount of training is going to unlock a new skill for him, so he decides to give it one last try and head to the Adventurers Guild to see if he meets their requirements now. But as he gets there and writes down his skills, aside from parrying, everything else is pretty much useless. The receptionist asks him if these are really all the skills he has, and Noor answers yes. So the receptionist suggests Noor take a look at the training program to get some more useful skills. Noor tells her that he has already gone to every training school in the city and hasn't been able to gain any useful skills. The receptionist apologizes but says there's nothing she can do to help him register since his skills don't meet the criteria for registration. Just then, the former receptionist, who is now the guildmaster, comes out of the back to see what's going on. Noor immediately recognizes him, but it takes the man a minute to remember who Noor is since he has grown so big. Once he finally remembers Noor, he sits down with him and asks how he has been. Noor tells him everything he has done since he last met him, which was literally nothing but training. However, through all that training, Noor was only able to improve his parry skill a little. The guildmaster tells Noor that there are different ranks of adventurers. To become an E-rank adventurer, he would need to have at least 2 useful skills, but since he doesn't meet that criterion, he can't become an E-rank adventurer. However, that doesn't mean there is no way for him to become an adventurer, as there is a rank below E-rank. This rank just requires you to have 2 functioning brain cells. Noor is excited to hear this, but the guildmaster tells him that there are conditions for this rank, meaning he is forbidden from taking on any quests that involve killing monsters or leaving the city to gather items. This restricts him to quests that are basically miscellaneous tasks that no one else wants to do. No one has ever been dumb or desperate enough to agree to become FR rank, but there's a first time for everything. Noor asks the guildmaster to sign him up for it. The guildmaster doesn't think it's a good idea, but Noor is so insistent that he caves and gives him an F-rank license. Noor is really happy and immediately runs off to complete his first quest by using his physical enhancement to carry a ton of goods for delivery. He also uses the rest of his weak skills to help him in day-to-day quests, and he finds it to be very fulfilling. He has finally achieved his dream of becoming an adventurer, being of use to the people around him, even if it's just F rank. So while he still dreams of being something more than a glorified errand boy, he's happy with what he has by the next day. We see Noor start the day off by single-handedly clearing out a gutter for an old lady, after which he begins his construction job by carrying a metric ton of cement on his shoulders and making it look like lightweight. So by the end of the day, the construction foreman thanks Noor for all his hard work since they are way ahead of their usual schedule because of him. However, while the foreman is talking, Noor notices something coming from the dungeon behind him. And as he listens closely, he hears a girl screaming for help, and he's not going to act like he didn't hear her, so he starts sprinting to offer his aid. As he enters the dungeon, he finds a girl in her party being attacked by a huge minotaur, but Noor mistakes it for a big cow. He's never seen a cow this big up close, so Noor is stunned. As the minotaur begins closing in on the girl in her party, the knights all try their best to defend her, but it's too late to try to escape now. So one of the knights just pushes the princess out of the way, but that results, and him getting chopped in half. Noor tries to check on the fallen knight, but with him missing half his body, there's no way he survived that. The minotaur continues slaughtering all the knights until the only one left alive is the girl, and she is unable to move, so if Noor doesn't do something soon, she will die. He picks up a sword and grabs a rock to throw at the minotaur. This gets its attention, so the minotaur charges at him, and as it tries to stab Noor with its horns, Noor performs a perfect parry and sends it flying into a random building in the dungeon. The minotaur gets back up and begins striking at Noor with his axe. So Noor is forced to continuously parry. The attacks gets a single direct hit would kill him. Normally, a person would only parry attacks in order to create an opening for a counterattack. However, Noor has no attack skill, so he is stuck on defense. The minotaur suddenly remembers the girl is still alive, so it goes over to finish her off. However, Noor isn't going to let that happen, so he uses his feather step skill to quickly get in front of her and counter the axe strike. This causes his sword to shatter, but that isn't going to stop Noor, since he has made up his mind that even if he can't be an amazing hero, he will always saint and protect the weak. So as the minotaur attempts to strike again, Noor uses the broken sword to perform a Muri counter and sends the minotaur's axe flying back at it and cutting the minotaur's head off. Noor is relieved that he managed to win the fight and save the girl. But as she gets up and thanks him, Noor doesn't want to accept any credit for it and leaves without even telling her his name. Noor still thinks of himself as a failure of an adventurer, and he is under the impression that the monster he just fought was just an over-brown cow. So in his mind, if he is still struggling this much with a cow, then he still has a lot of training to do. A while later, a cleanup crew is brought in to move the minotaur along with all the people who died fighting it. Princess Lindbergh feels personally responsible for all their deaths. Just then, her knight, Ence, rushes up to her and apologizes for not accompanying her when she came out to the dungeon, since it is her job to protect Lin. Lin tells her it's not her fault. This was just meant to be a basic trial for the right to succeed the throne, so it wouldn't have made sense to force her knight to accompany her. Just then, another knight tells Lin that they mean to return to the castle soon, since Lord Rain wants to have a word with her, and she already knows what this is going to be about. Back at the castle, Lord Rain has just finished speaking with Lin to understand what happened to her, but none of it makes sense to him. The only way a minotaur could have ended up in that area of the dungeon was if it was magically summoned by someone. The knight agrees with that assumption. He believes that the cause of the incident has something to do with a merchant who was found dead at the scene with a ring. Upon inspection, it was discovered that the magic stone of the ring has an unusually high level of purity, and that's not something that can be sold on the market normally. A minotaur is a threat A-level demon, so no random rich guy could buy something that could control one. The crest on the ring indicates that it originated from the magical empire of Doritos, so Rain believes they were behind this, since they've always had beef with him. But even then, the fact that they blatantly attempted to assassinate Lin and didn't even bother to get rid of the evidence must mean they are trying to bait Rain into starting a war so they can gain control of the dungeon. That aside, Rain also has to think about the guide who saved Lin, since according to the reports, he was able to defeat the Minotaur in seconds with nothing but a broken sword. On top of that, the castle spies tried to follow him as he was leaving, but he literally vanished before their eyes. Rain can't believe what he's hearing, so he is really interested in figuring out who this mysterious warrior is. Meanwhile, Noor has just returned to the guild, and the guild master is surprised that he is still alive. He heard about a demon appearing in the dungeon, and it was right next to the construction site Noor was working on, so he thought Noor might have gotten himself killed. Noor apologizes for worrying him and explains that he was being followed by some shady people last night, so he had to shake them off and went home without reporting what happened. The guildmaster says Noor is lucky to be alive since a minotaur is a demon that is so strong that even an A-rank adventurer would instantly die if they had to face it. Noor still doesn't realize that the guildmaster is talking about the same cow he killed, so he asks what happened to this demon. The guildmaster tells him it was taken out by some mysterious man. Noor remains oblivious to the fact that he is the mysterious man in question, so he just carries on with a report for the jobs he completed today. The guildmaster gives him his payment, but reminds Noor that he is better off just getting a regular job since he would get paid more that way. But Noor doesn't care how much money he makes as long as he gets to be an adventurer. Just then, Lynn shows up behind Noor and says she's glad she finally found him. She apologizes for invading his privacy, but she really wanted to meet him again, so she used her long-distance detection skill to find him. Noor assumes she must be a thief-class adventurer if she has a detection skill, but Lynn says she's actually a magician. She just has skills in all the different classes, even if they are only basic. The guildmaster and the other patrons are starting to recognize Lynn, so she asks if she and Noor can talk outside, but before he does, the guildmaster grabs Noor and asks him what he did for Lynn to be talking to him. Noor says he hasn't done anything illegal, meaning he shouldn't be in trouble or anything, so the guildmaster tells him to go with Lynn and to make sure he doesn't do anything dumb outside. Lynn conceals herself and Noor with one of her skills so no one can see them, and once they are finally in a secluded spot, Lynn apologizes once more for barging in on Noor, when a man with his power would probably be pretty busy. Noor says it's fine, so Lynn begins by thanking him once more for what he did, because not only did he save her life, but he also saved the lives of countless people in the nation. Noor doesn't think he deserves such high praise, since all he did was take down a cow. In fact, he is pretty sure Lynn could have handled it by herself if he hadn't shown up. No idea how he drew that conclusion when he saw several knights get murdered by this same cow, so Lynn tries to make him understand that she would have definitely died if he hadn't come to her rescue. Noor still doesn't think he did much to help her, but he accepts her thanks. However, as Lynn says she wants to offer him a reward to show her gratitude for him helping her out, Noor tells her that a thank you is all he needs, so she doesn't have to give him anything else. Lynn insists on giving Noor a reward, and her father has also asked to meet Noor as well, but Noor seriously doesn't want a reward. Lynn tries one more time to get him to accept, but Noor is very firm on his no-reward policy. Lynn is getting desperate and asks Noor if there is anything she can help him with, or even if she could get him a territory of his own, but Noor just says he doesn't want it. Lynn starts crying and tells him that he has to accept her gratitude, and she's not moving from this spot until Noor says he will accept something from her. Noor remembers a time when he used this same tantrum technique to get a cleric to train him, and since he doesn't want Lynn to end up standing here for hours, he ends up agreeing to meet with her father. But he still doesn't want any extravagant gifts. Lynn is happy to hear it, so she says Noor should follow close behind her so she can use her concealment skills to make sure no one spots them. Eventually, Noor is brought to Lynn's house, and as he is led inside, Lynn asks him for his name, which Noor is happy to provide. But Noor still doesn't know who Lynn is, so she apologizes for being rude and immediately introduces herself as Lindbergh Clays. However, that's a really long name, so she's usually called Lynn. After seeing the house, Noor now realizes that Lynn wasn't joking when she said she was wealthy, so it makes sense why the guildmaster was worried about him making a fool of himself. As they are walking, they run into a knight, and Lynn is happy to see her. She runs up to her and asks where her father is. The knight tells her that her father is currently having a meeting with Rain, so he is a little busy right now. But that aside, she wants to know who the man standing over there is. Lynn explains that Noor is the one who saved her life, so the knight says she will lead them to Lynn's father. Noor has never heard of a royal knight, so he assumes she must be a family maid who really loves wearing armor for some reason. He can also tell that Rain doesn't like him for some reason, but he has no idea why. As they are walking, they come across a man chilling by the window, and as soon as he notices them, he gets up and asks what Lynn is up to and who this random guy is. Lynn tells Gilbert to put his spear away since Noor is her guest, and it is very rude to point weapons at guests. Gilbert realizes that Noor must be the person who saved Lynn's life, so he puts his weapon down and asks him to accompany them to the room because she could use all the help she can get. Gilbert now has a bad impression of Noor, and Noor can already tell that things aren't going to end well for him at this rate, but he keeps walking. In the throne room, the king is in the middle of a meeting with Rain, and he is upset because it is clear that Doritos doesn't care about honoring their peace treaty. Rain has been expecting this ever since the last meeting with the king of Doritos, where he demanded that the rights to the dungeon be relinquished to him. The demand was obviously rejected, but ever since then, the king of Doritos has been plotting their downfall. Just then, Lynn and the others arrive in the throne room, and Lynn excitedly goes over to greet her brother and father. Rain and Gilbert kneel to show their respect for the king, but Noor keeps on walking. Rai notices that Lynn is wearing the disguised cloak, meaning she must have gone outside without permission, but she says she had to because there was no other way for her to find the man that saved her. The king realizes that she must be referring to Noor, and Noor apologizes for coming here in such a messy state, but Lynn wanted to come here as soon as possible. He also says he isn't an aristocrat or anything, so he isn't aware of the proper etiquette for situations like these, and he may accidentally say something rude. But the king tells him that he's fine with it, since it is much easier to speak without having to worry about etiquette. He extends his hand to Noor and formally thanks him for saving Lynn's life. Noor says it's no big deal, so a simple thank you is enough for him. But the king says he can't let Noor go without giving him a decent reward. So he says Noor can ask for any amount of money or land he wants. However, Noor still doesn't want anything. The king is taken aback but still raises the reward by offering Noor half of all the treasures they have acquired from the dungeon. Rain thinks a reward like that is too much to be given to a single man, but Noor still doesn't want it. Though the king doesn't know what to give Noor since he keeps rejecting everything, he goes over to his throne and picks up the sword hanging on it as a gift. Noor doesn't think it's a good idea to give away such a valuable sword, but the king says it's okay since he never uses it anymore, and no one would find out as long as he replaces it with a replica. As soon as it is in Noor's hand and he can feel how heavy it is from how Rain reacted, Noor can tell that the sword is worth a lot, and he doesn't want to accept any extravagant gifts. But the king says it's just something he picked up while he was still an adventurer, so it's fine for Noor to accept it. Noor agrees to accept it, so the king asks him to give it a test swing. Noor obliges and swings the sword in the air, generating a huge amount of force and surprising everyone around him. The king praises Noor for being able to swing the sword with one hand, but he also has a request to make. He wants Noor to help train Lynn on how to be an adventurer. Noor, however, says there's nothing he could possibly teach someone as talented as Lynn, and besides, he thinks Lynn should be the one to decide something like this for herself. After that, Noor figures it's time to start heading home. As he's leaving, he realizes something special about his sword. It's the perfect shape to fit inside the gutters that he usually cleans. He decides he'll try it out tomorrow morning before he leaves. Just then, he's approached by Anne, who says she wants to talk with him first. She apologizes for her rude behavior earlier, admitting it was completely uncalled for. Noor reassures her that he doesn't mind at all. Understanding her job is to protect the Clay family at any cost, Anne expresses her deep gratitude to Noor for saving Lynn. To express her gratitude, Anne promises to assist Noor if he ever needs help. Noor, not wanting to go back and forth with her about it, simply accepts the offer and says he'll ask her if he ever needs anything. With that settled, Anne also warns Noor that he is never allowed to speak so casually to the king again. Even though the king may have allowed it this time, she won't tolerate such disrespect in the future. Noor says he understands, which puts Anne in a good mood, and she asks him for his name. When he tells her his name is Noor, she seems oddly shocked. Noor, confused, asks if he did something wrong again, but Anne brushes it off, saying it's nothing, before taking her leave. Just as Noor is about to leave as well, he's stopped by Gilbert, who wants to challenge him to a fight. Rick, tired from all the running around, is also there but seems exhausted and just wants to head home. He asks Gilbert what they're even supposed to be doing. That's when Noor realizes they've arrived at the castle's training room. Gilbert announces that he wants to have a mock battle with Noor. Noor hasn't had the chance to practice with another person since his training days, so he's actually quite enthusiastic about this match. Gilbert approaches the weapons rack and notes that Noor is well known in the royal capital, so he's eager to see what the hero who saved Lin is capable of in battle. Noor is happy to accept, viewing it as a great opportunity to hone his skills. He doesn't expect to beat Gilbert, but he sees it as a valuable experience. A small crowd gathers around them, feeling pity for the unfortunate soul who chose to challenge Captain Gilbert. As the match begins, Gilbert makes the first move, but Noor easily dodges it. Gilbert continues his assault, and while Noor is deftly avoiding his attacks, he comments on how incredibly precise Gilbert's moves are. He can only imagine the amount of training Gilbert must have undergone to reach this level. However, one thing puzzles him. If Gilbert is such a skilled adventurer, why are his attacks so slow? Noor has never practiced with another person before, so he assumes that Gilbert must be moving slowly intentionally, given that Noor is a novice adventurer. Noor calls for a timeout and tells Gilbert that he doesn't have to hold back so much. While Gilbert was indeed holding back a little, he agrees to ramp up the intensity. He charges at Noor with full force, and his attacks are now much faster. Yet, Noor still finds it odd that Gilbert is leaving himself wide open for a counterattack. Noor thinks there's no way Gilbert could be this defenseless against him, so he assumes that Gilbert must be luring him into a trap. Meanwhile, Gilbert is perplexed by his inability to land a single hit on Noor with his spear. He decides to use one of his signature moves, hoping it will finally connect. Noor, however, is prepared. He leaps into the air to evade the attack, and as Gilbert tries to strike him mid-air, Noor ducks underneath the blow. Despite all of Gilbert's efforts, Noor remains calm and composed, not even breaking a sweat. Noor tells Gilbert that it's fine if he speeds up even more since he's been going way too slow. Gilbert's pride is wounded by this statement, and Noor starts to realize that all this solo training might have actually made him stronger than he thought. But suddenly, Gilbert uses his ultimate skill in a desperate attempt to land at least one hit on Noor. When the dust settles, Noor has vanished and appears by Gilbert's side. To Gilbert's surprise, Noor simply says he gives up. Afterward, Noor heads home for the day, relieved to have made it out before things escalated further. Meanwhile, back at the training hall, Gilbert's subordinates are busy concocting reasons why Gilbert is still stronger than Noor, despite his ultimate move failing. Deep down, Gilbert knows that he has lost in every conceivable way. Despite his talent with the spear, which had made him unrivaled in power since his first day of training, he has been bested. The more he trained, the more powerful his techniques got, and the more strength he gained. But through it all, he felt nothing but boredom since he never found a worthy opponent for himself. He went around the kingdom in search of strong opponents. But after he has already defeated every warrior in this particular village, the village chief apologizes and says there was no one here to match his strength. The chief goes on to tell him that there are rumors going around about the relations between the kingdom and a foreign country collapsing, so they are calling for strong troops to prepare for the likelihood of war. If Gilbert is lucky, he might end up meeting someone who can give him the challenge that he has been so desperately looking for. Gilbert returns to the capital, and no single troop member is capable of standing up to him. Demon slaying is no longer a fun endeavor for him either. No matter how big the demon was, he was sick of being surrounded by weaklings. One day, while he was relaxing under a tree, his instructor walks up to him and asks why he looks so glum when he has just been crowned the Spear Sovereign. Even with the fancy title, Gilbert is still as bored as ever, since he's surrounded by total weaklings. His instructor brings out that Ians is a strong person, and while Gilbert agrees that she is strong and more of a different kind of strength, so whenever they have mock battles, Gilbert always ends up being the definitive victor. He thinks things would be a lot more interesting if there were more competent people around, like his instructor. He knows his instructor must be bored as well, especially since he has to train a bunch of rookie adventurers who don't even measure up to the power in his pinky finger. The instructor admits that it is a bit boring, but he is tasked with defending the kingdom, and no matter how strong he is, he can't win an entire war by himself. Besides, he's sure that someday an adventurer will show up that surpasses him in strength. When Gilbert heard about a man who managed to defeat a minotaur by himself, he wanted to meet him personally. But Noor makes no sense at all. He showed no interest in the most lavish gifts the king had to offer. He was so casual with the king that Gilbert had to respect him for it. While fighting Noor, Gilbert couldn't sense the power necessary to defeat a minotaur, but that doesn't change the fact that Noor was able to dodge all of his moves. Even when he busted out his supersonic spear strike, it still did nothing against Noor, while it would have been a guaranteed death sentence to any other person. On top of that, Noor forfeited the match out of nowhere. Gilbert assumes Noor did it out of courtesy, since he didn't want to embarrass him in front of his subordinates. As Noor was leaving, Gilbert noticed a bunch of cracks in the floor and has no idea how they got here or what Noor did to cause them. But what he does know is that Noor was able to dodge his ultimate attack while he was at full power, so he has finally found a truly worthy opponent he has been searching for. As Noor walks home, he thinks about how foolish he was to think that he was strong when Gilbert used his ultimate attack. Even after Noor used his physical enhancement abilities, he was only able to barely evade the strike. Gilbert must have been holding back just enough to prove a point, since there's no way he would actually use a lethal move in a mock battle. He feels thankful to Gilbert for reminding him that he is still weak, so he's going to train even harder from now on. The next morning, Noor is busy with his usual gutter cleaning job, and he is using the legendary sword to do it. He's shocked at how well the sword works for this, since the gutters have never been so clean before. Thanks to the sword's durability, it hasn't gotten even slightly scratched after all Noor has done with it. However, once he's done with his gutter cleaning, he is left with nothing to do since his construction job got put on hold because of the incident in the dungeon. Since he is only allowed to accept F-rank jobs, if work in the royal capital ever dries up, there may be entire days that he will have nothing to do. Noor doesn't want that to happen, since his goal is to be useful to people. He considers starting a boat ride business and using the sword as an oar, but then he realizes that he would have to own a boat for that. He considers making pizzas, but then he would need an oven. He finally considers making a grill out of his sword, but that won't work either since he can only make a flame with his fingertips. Just then, Noor hears some rustling in the bushes, so he turns around and finds Lynn standing there. She apologizes for showing up like this, but she couldn't find him at the guild, so she asks the guildmaster where Noor would be. Noor understands, but he didn't tell the guildmaster his exact location, so Lynn must have used her tracking abilities to find him. Noor asks why Lynn is here, so she gets straight to the point and tells Noor that she has a special request to ask of him. She wants Noor to accept her as his page, but Noor has never even heard of a page before. So Lynn explains that a page is an unpaid assistant who takes care of all of Noor's daily necessities and hopes of gaining some useful knowledge from him. She's fine with just being allowed to hang around Noor and promises that she won't cause him any trouble. But Noor still refuses. She asks if she has done something to offend Noor or if he thinks she is unreliable, but Noor tells her that's not the case. She tries to assure him that she can be of use since she has scored the highest marks in all 6 training schools. But her competence isn't the issue here. There's just nothing for Noor to teach her, and he doesn't need her to help him with his work either, since he is perfectly capable of doing it on his own. Lynn tries to offer Noor a huge salary if he agrees to be her instructor, but he still doesn't care about money. So Lynn offers to let him use her to do whatever he wants, but Noor turns her down again. He really just doesn't have anything for Lynn to do, but she remains insistent and wants to prove to him that she can be useful. So she takes out her wand and says she's going to demonstrate her competence. She casts an ice spell to fire several icicles at herself, but before she gets hit, she uses a fire spell to destroy them. She tells Noor that this is the highest level of magic she can use, and in addition to that, she has also learned the secret skill of the thief class called Mistblade. She learned it directly from the Sovereign of Shadows, and it's strong enough to easily cut down a tree with one swing. Noor realizes Lynn must think he is someone worth studying under, but after seeing everything she is capable of doing, Noor honestly feels inferior compared to her. He tries telling her once more that there's nothing he can teach her, but Lynn takes that to mean that Noor thinks she's too weak to become his student. She asserts that her power has been acknowledged by all the 6 sovereigns and assures she can be useful to Noor in some way if he lets her join him. Noor's point still isn't getting through, so he tells Lynn that she possesses many amazing skills, but this is the current limit of Noor's skills. Lynn is left speechless and leaves Noor alone for today. But as she's walking home, she recounts the story of a boy with no talent who went through all 6 training schools. People often thought this was nothing more than a made-up legend, since most adults would crumble under the pressure of the rigorous training program at one school, let alone complete the courses at all 6. Lynn had thought it was a fake story as well, but she actually got to meet this person back when she was studying magic. Oaken showed her something interesting about the basic spell Tiny Flame. While the flame created is usually as small as a point, with enough practice, one can make the flame slightly bigger. It had no practical use to him, but he had been alive for 200 years at this point, so practicing the tiny flame became a hobby for him. Since she saw that Lynn has made several attempts to make her tiny flame slightly larger, but no matter what she does, it doesn't grow at all. It's something that requires tireless devotion over a long period of time. This is precisely why she was so shocked when Noor was able to create a massive tiny flame many times bigger than what Oaken could have ever done. Oaken is the greatest wizard in the world, and for Noor's skills to be at such a level means he far outclasses anything Lynn could pull off, and it was all done through his own effort. However, all the spells Lynn demonstrated were just things she had memorized. Noor had the power to defeat a minotaur, but he still lives a regular life without bragging or showboating. So Lynn believes Noor is not only strong in body, but also in mind. In the near future, she will be in a position to lead this kingdom alongside her brother and father, and the rule of the Clay family is that those with royal blood must be strong. So she wants to learn how to attain strength like Noor's. If Noor doesn't want to be her instructor, then she's just going to have to stalk him as much as necessary until he agrees to train her. The prince is sitting in the castle wondering why his father gave the black blade to a stranger. During the king's adventure days, he found the black blade when he was in the depths of the deepest dungeons with the 6 sovereigns. After finding the blade, everyone tried to break the blade, but no one was able to do so. It was made from an unknown material that was stronger than the strongest metals. But how can an unbreakable blade be in such a bad shape? The prince thinks that his father might have seen something in Noor, as he was the one who was able to defeat the Minotaur and save Lynn. Hence, he might be the ray of hope. In the city, Lynn and Noor are filling up their stomachs, and after doing so, they leave for the guild. The guildmaster asks why Princess Lynn is there, but Lynn asks him not to be formal as she is also an adventurer. The guildmaster obliges, and Noor asks for some commissions that is suitable for 2 people. The guildmaster says that since Lynn is B-ranked, they can take the commission outside the city and kill goblins. Noor is scared as goblins are a big deal for him, but he is happy as this will be his first adventure outside the city walls. However, his Sigma personality kicks in, and he wonders if it is appropriate to use Lynn's rank to his advantage. He asks Lynn, and she agrees to do so. Noor gets motivated and leaves in the heat of the moment, but comes back because he didn't get the location from the guildmaster. The guildmaster guides them about the goblins that are present in the forest of beasts. So the duo ventures to kill some goblins in the dark forest. Lynn tells Noor that the number of goblins should be kept under consideration, because if they are left unchecked, the goblins increase in number, disrupting the environment. However, the goblins are also the reason that the forest is able to thrive. Soon the fog starts to get thicker and darker. Lynn uses her sensing magic, but she senses nothing. Suddenly, she senses a goblin. But the goblin is far so venture deeper. After reaching the point of sensation, Lynn says that the goblin disappeared, but she senses it again, and it vanishes again. It's like someone is hiding in the trees or running at immense speed. Lynn uses her uncovering magic, and suddenly, a giant goblin appears in front of them. Noor gets scared thinking that all goblins are jacked with 8 abs, but Lynn knows that this is not a regular goblin, but a goblin emperor. A goblin specifically made in the lab to absorb mana and eat other goblins for more mana and strength. However, Noor doesn't know shit about this. The goblin starts throwing large trees on the duo, but Noor is the master of parry, so he evades them easily. Lynn uses her wind magic and fires sharp ice blades, but the goblin is fast as hell. The goblin throws more tress, but Noor saves Lynn. The goblin is regenerating faster than others, so Lynn spots a mana stone on his forehead that has all the power. She tells Noor about it, and Noor asks Lynn to fire a wind blast at his back, but Lynn can break walls with that thing. However, Noor uses his blade and puts it on his back to absorb the hit. Lin uses the wind blast and sends Noor at light speed towards the goblin. Noor uses his physical enhancement, Feather Step, and healing powers to jump in the air, and finally hits the giant goblin right at the mana stone. The stone breaks off, and as soon as it does, the monster starts screaming in pain. The healing effect wears off, and Noor asks Lin to give the goblin a painless death. Lin stares at the goblin, and just when it is about to hit her, she uses her Hellflare magic and puts it to sleep permanently. Noor thinks that this is enough goblin hunting for a day and return to the city. The prince gets the news about the Goblin Emperor, so he suspects that someone might have put the goblin there. It might be the wrongdoing of the Magic Kingdom, but the investigators tell him that the goblin was using concealment magic. This shocks the prince because that kind of magic is so rare that even the Shadow Kingdom can't detect such magic spells. Lin suspects that it might have been there for some days, and that was the reason for the low number of goblins in the area. The investigators give their reports and leave. Back in the city, the guildmaster asks how was the hunt. Noor is happy as it was his first adventure, and he gives all the credit to Lin, but Lin says that she helped just a bit. Noor says that the goblins are totally different from what he imagined, as the goblin had a mana stone on his head. The guildmaster thinks that it might have been a rare goblin without knowing that it was a goblin emperor. He then asks for the proof of payment, which was the right ear, but the dumb duo had already burnt the whole goblin, so they had no proof. Back in the castle, the prince gets the news of several people and livestock gone missing. Each letter had the same story. There is something in the forest and the animals are scared to go in there. The prince realizes that this is a disgusting act by the Magic Kingdom. He couldn't believe that they would go to such lengths just to get the resources from the dungeons. The prince calls in all the 6 sovereigns, as well as this could be a very serious matter. Rain is filled with anger as he doesn't know what the Magic Kingdom will do. Back at the guildmaster gives Lin and Noor some reward for killing the goblin, as this was their first hunt, even though they had no proof the guildmaster trusted them. Also, a single goblin isn't very rewarding. Lin and Noor took the reward, and they were eating some lunch when suddenly Rain arrived. He asked Noor if he would be willing to take Lin, his younger sister, to the mountain district. He apologizes for the sudden request and tells Noor that he will be escorted in a carriage. Noor agrees to go along with Lin, but it isn't due to the mission. He just wants to feel the ride of a carriage as he has never been in one before. Noor was happy to see such landscapes as he had never gone outside the capital, but Lin wasn't as happy as Noor because she didn't like the way he was burdened to escort her to the mountain district. But Noor says that it's okay as he is well compensated for the trip, and also he owes her a favor as she helped him in his first hunt. Rain had instructed the duo to first go the mountain district of Tauros. After waiting for a while, they will go on to the Holy Theocracy of Mithra if everything is normal. Turns out that prior to their journey, Rain had a meeting with Ines, in which he told her that in the future, a horrifying crisis will dawn on the capital, and he wants her to take Lin and Noor to Mithra. Ines asks if Lin knows about this, but she doesn't. The prince says that Lin wouldn't go away if she knew. Inez's duty has the utmost importance because the prince can't trust anyone other than her. The escort stops at Tauros to get some rest and wait a while, and Inez apologizes to Noor. Noor has no idea in the world, but he notices that she is upset. So, he asks Inez what could be the matter. Inez just shakes it off, saying that she has a lot of burden on her shoulders due to the escort and the protection. Noor laughs it off, saying that she doesn't need to worry about him as he can easily defend himself. He adds that if things go way south, he can run faster than Usain Bolt. Inez says that if something terrible happens, he can always come behind her shield. But Noor doesn't understand it as Inez has no equipment, so she shows her skill to Noor, and in a second, she makes a green glowing shield. In a backstory, we see Inez first discover her ability when she was way too young, and when one of her friends touches the glowing green magic, it cuts her finger. She was traumatized. As soon as the teachers heard about it, the friend was given treatment, but Inez wasn't punished, as it was just an accident. But the sovereigns wanted to know more about Inez's power. They said that the magic was too powerful, that it could even level a whole country, so Inez was trained properly. Hence she trained under the shadow of Dandel, but due to her first incident with her friend, she distanced herself from everyone as she didn't want to hurt anyone. Inez knew she heard the name Noor before. That's when she remembered when she was on a hunt with her adoptive father. The monsters were piling up and the soldiers were exhausted, and that's when Dandel said that he wished Noor was here. This lit a fire of jealousy in Inez. That's why their first encounter wasn't a happy beginning. On their way, the escort notices a dead patch in the field, so Lin uses the uncovering spell, and a giant poisonous frog appears in the field. Meanwhile, the capital is under attack, just as Rain had predicted. A horde of monsters has appeared in the capital, and the warrior crops aren't enough to take out all of them. Rain suggests that the swordsman troops will hold off the monsters, while the secret services and the hunters will finish the job. He also says that the 6 sovereigns are a bit busy as they had been summoned where the stronger monsters are. The king can't believe that Daratus will go to such lengths just because his demands weren't met. In the field, we see that as soon as the frog appears, the frog attacks a boy nearby. Without any second thoughts, Noor jumps into action and starts parrying the frog's attack. It turns out that it's not any regular giant frog but a black dragon. Noor finds that the attacks of this frog are weaker than the goblin, so Lin or Inez can easily defeat it. But Inez notices that the boy is a demon kin. Lin remembers when Rain told him that demon kin are rare, however they have the ability to tame a demon and make it work on their will. A couple hundred years ago, the entire state of Mithra was almost consumed due to a demon kin, so the humans started hunting these kins until there was none left. The black dragon throws a poisonous mist at Noor, and instead of running away, Noor stands his ground and parries the attack, but the mist takes over him, and he starts bleeding from his mouth and eyes. Lin rushes to help, but Inez stops her, saying that a single blow of black dragon is enough to kill someone. Not even an S-rank healer can do anything. The dragon prepares another attack, and Lin gets behind Inez's shield. However, some gas leaks in, so Lin uses the Purify magic to heal the air. Inez apologizes to Noor for being a mere soldier, but as the dust settles, we see Noor is still fighting the dragon. Inez remembers why Dandel wanted Noor by his side, a man who stands his ground to protect others no matter the consequences. The dragon throws another poisonous blast, but Noor is able to parry it. However, the dragon lands a mighty blow at Noor. Although Noor blocks it with the blade, he collapses to the ground.